In this video, we're going to explore together why I felt this sense of meaninglessness in my mid-20s and throughout pretty much my entire 20s, and what specifically I changed in order to feel more meaning, to feel more hope, and to feel more aligned and inspired in my mid-20s and to have more of a sense of meaning in my life in general. All right, let's jump into it. So the first question is why I actually did feel lost, and I already pulled up some points that I want to make. And the biggest thing that I was doing back in the day, especially in my mid-20s and when you're not really sure who you are and what your identity is, you start to compare yourself. And nowadays, since we have social media and all these different things, this entire process is completely accelerated. And I was using Instagram a lot. I was looking at YouTube videos from like people that were traveling and vlogging and doing all these cool stuff, and especially on Instagram. And because I was doing that, I constantly compared myself to their highlight reel of their life. And I felt like my life was just not holding up because I was still figuring out my career. I was still working on building my business and making money with it. I was still going out there and talking to girls and proving myself and becoming more confident and all these different things. And obviously, if you then go on social media and you see some young dude in their 20s driving around in a Ferrari, even though you don't know if it's real or not, most likely it's not, but you're still going to think it's real and it feels like it is. And every time I did this, I felt really shitty about myself. And I've kind of had this underlying feeling that what the hell am I doing with my life? This guy is younger than me. This guy is more successful than me. He has more girls around me. He has a cooler life. He's traveling. All these different things that I valued so much back in the day or in the beginning of my 20s. And what really helped me was to, number one, to start eliminating. So I started noticing all these different things that were really giving me a sense of meaninglessness, or where I started to compare myself and that were just dragging me down. And I really ruthlessly started to eliminate them. I remember I deleted my Instagram, and I haven't used my Instagram on my phone probably for the past 4 or 5 years or something at least. And I barely watch any YouTube videos. And even if I do watch YouTube videos, it's only really something process driven or some other expert showing something. What I don't like to watch is, these videos that just make you feel shitty about yourself, even because someone is trying to sell you some business model or some get rich quick scheme. And in order to do that, you need to feel shitty about yourself and that you're doing something wrong with your life. So he can sell you a different dream and something you really, really want, and that you need to do this thing. So any kind of money advice, like business coaches, even like these personal development things, I stopped consuming that because it felt like I was always doing something wrong and there's something else I need to do. And that gave me a kind of the sense of, well, I'm not doing enough with my life. There's more to do and stuff like this. So Instagram, or in general social media, that helped me a ton. So because after that my mind was just more clear, I was just more focused on what I want, and also no Facebook and no business, personal development advice on YouTube. And I was also listening back in the days to a lot of different podcasts, and I was reading every single personal development book. I was listening to all the different famous podcasts and stuff like this. And I realized as well that the more I listen to it, the more it starts to confuse me, because it's so easy to just listen to this guy on that podcast, then you go on another podcast, they have this guy on, then that guy, that girl, and you listen to like 20 different people and everybody's saying something else. And because of it, I felt so confused about what to do with my life. And because of that confusion, I wasn't doing anything because I wasn't clear on what to do. And it just accelerated this feeling of meaninglessness and hopelessness during my mid-20s. So I stopped actually listening to business podcasts or self-help podcasts and all these different things. And I only picked like 1 or 2 guys I really want to learn from and that are where I want to go, which I go later on in detail how to find that. And I just listened to them and just their stuff, and I ignored everything else. Every other guru that has some cool business model, I ignored. Every single new self-help guy that had some cool technique, I ignored, because it was just like I just said, giving me more sense of meaninglessness. Okay, and then my mind is clear. I solved a lot of these things that were confusing me and giving me the sense like there's more to do. I need to do something different with my life. Then the question is, well, what am I doing with my life then? And again, in the beginning of my 20s, I tried all these classical things you read in Think and Grow Rich and every other self-help book. You need to set goals. Okay, cool. But I remember by setting these goals and then chasing some of these goals, and then especially coming to the point where I realized, well, this isn't actually what I wanted. So one example that I had in the beginning, with like 21, I started my first business attempt, which was Amazon FBA, where we started selling some protein shakers, which did not really work that well because we weren't putting enough work in and we weren't disciplined enough and all these different things. And then over time, I kind of moved more into an agency, and I won my first clients and it started working and I got more referrals, and I really started to build it up until it was like a nice, profitable 6-figure business, and I was having a cool lifestyle. I was living very nice. But once I got to this point, I started to feel extremely unfulfilled, and I was asking myself, are those even my goals? Because I remember continuously setting up the ladder. So first it's 10K, then it's 50K, then it's 100K per month. And even though I was not really emotionally invested in it and I wasn't feeling it, I was still pushing for these goals. And again, it gave me this feeling of meaninglessness, because even though I was making money and my clients were happy and I was doing all this work and I still felt really hopeless and unfulfilled and meaninglessness, because I remember that I didn't choose these goals. I kind of got drawn into this direction, and then I had some business coaches that were mentoring me at the time, like, hey, you need to do this more. You need to set a goal, like, hey, you need to go to the next level. And you're in those groups where you have all these peers that are setting these same goals. They're like, hey, I'm going for 100K this month, for 50. And I started to slowly set these goals for myself, even though I was not feeling them and they weren't really aligned with what I want to do. And what really changed it for me then was to actually go back and to forget about the goals and to first really understand who I am, and specifically what are my values and what are the emotions that I want to feel on a daily basis in my life. The values I found out by going back through my past and to look over all these different points in my life where I had to make a big decision. So for example, I went to the United States from Germany when I was 16 for a semester abroad, or like a high school year abroad. And I didn't speak any English. I was completely introverted and shy back in the day. And that was absolutely extremely far outside of my comfort zone. I still went, even though I was shitting my pants, even in the flight. I remember it was like one of the most terrifying moments. I still went, and then in my mid-20s, when I started to figure out what my values are and what I want to build in my life, I went back to those moments and I asked myself, like, what value was driving me in those moments to make that decision? Why did I do it? What were I trying to achieve? What was the motive behind it? And by going through a few more of those moments in my life, or for example, another one, I lived in Dresden in Germany, and then I decided to go for my studies to Hamburg. I didn't know anyone. I've never even been there, and it was like 5 hours away from where I lived. I left all my friends that I knew before, and I kind of started from scratch, which I wanted to. And again, why did I make that decision? What was the motive behind it? What was I trying to achieve? And over time, I found like 3 to 5 values that were always kind of showing up in all these moments in my life that I was making a big decision, okay? And for me, it was like freedom, being different and going my own path and doing my own thing, belonging and connecting to others and being part of a group and a social network. Yeah, those were the big ones. And also to push myself in order to be the best and to really see how far I can go, how much better I can be than all my peers and my competition, and to just be the best and master something, okay? And by finding this out, I can then go back and ask myself, okay, what kind of goals can I set in life that will allow me to actually achieve those goals? So what I realized, the goals that I was setting, okay, this is not the end goal. The end goal is actually, I'm here right now, this is my current situation, and the end goal is actually for me to achieve my values. Because values are, in my definition, the emotional state that you want to feel, okay? Because I want to feel like I'm doing something different, or I feel free, something like this, okay? And the goal is just the means for me to achieve that value, okay? So if I decide to build a YouTube channel, then it's because I believe by building this YouTube channel, it will help me to fulfill my value of feeling free, different, and belonging as well, because I get to connect with other people that like the same stuff. That's why I set a goal then. Not because I want to have some vanity metrics of a ton of followers and ton of stuff, make tons of money, which is certainly a means to an end as well, and really, really good. But in this case, it's because I want to fulfill my value, okay? And another layer of this is, once you find out your values, okay, you have your, let's just draw on a V for value. The second thing is to find out what your emotions are, okay? Because why are we doing the things we are doing? Why am I going out and trying to buy myself a Porsche, or to make a ton of money in order to buy a mansion, or to go to Bali or wherever? It's because I believe that by doing this, if I drive around in a Porsche or I sit in a big fat mansion that I just bought, that I will feel a certain way, okay? And I kind of think, okay, I buy these things and I will feel XX, and this, for example, I will feel proud, I will feel amazing, excited, connected, free, whatever it is, adventurous. And because I believe that, I go out and I achieve these goals. And more often than not, as well, what I had with my agency as well, I got to the level, I was making 6 figures, everything cool. But I realized I was not feeling the emotions that I kind of thought I will feel if I do these things and achieve these goals, okay? And the same thing, if you go back to your past and you take an hour or two and you just go back and you think of some moments in your life where you really felt happy. So for example, maybe you have a moment with your family, you guys were doing a vacation or traveling somewhere and you just felt amazing. And you go back, you visualize that moment, and you notice what kind of emotions come up. Maybe you felt free, maybe you felt light, maybe you felt connected or safe or whatever it is, okay? Then you go back, okay, what were some other beautiful moments in my life? Maybe you bought your first bike, okay? And you worked for it, you had a job, and you just saved up all the money and you finally could buy that bike. How did you feel? You probably felt proud, maybe you felt, what else? Confident, happy, all these different things, okay? And you do this for a few moments in your life, and again, you're gonna see a pattern. You can pump this into AI as well, and you get to see a pattern of what kind of feelings and emotions you actually value in life. And again, you're gonna have a list of like 3 to 5 emotions, okay, that you really value, and you're like, this seems to be the pattern. All these happy moments I had in my life, I was feeling this, and this. And in my case, it's again, it's I like feeling accomplished. That's something I had over and over in my life. I feel like belonging is something, and connected. And the other one is ease and worryless, being free of worry and stuff like this, okay? Those were like 3 big ones for me. And now it actually gets interesting. Now you have your values and you have your emotions, okay? And then, I showed this in my last video, you're gonna categorize your life in like 8 different categories of your life, pretty much. Maybe I still have this here. No. Like business, health, relationships, friendships, finance, joy and emotions, charity, and personality and learning. Those 8 categories. And then you think out in the future, like 5 to 7 to 10 years, and you ask yourself, okay, what can I achieve and what needs to happen in order for me to fulfill my values and to feel these emotions on a daily basis, for example, in business. And then you just brainstorm and you're like, okay, well, maybe if I build an e-commerce store and I have a cool team where I work with creative people together on a daily basis and we pump out products that feel meaningful to me and that give people as well an ability to express themselves. And you write this down as specific as possible and you think like this actually might be a way for me to fulfill my values in life and to feel these emotions on a daily basis. And you do this for all these categories and you give yourself some time. You don't have to decide anything. Just brainstorm in a mind map. Over time, over 2, 3, 4 months, I did this over 4 months or something, there is going to be a picture that really comes to life. And it feels so meaningful to you because your values are behind. You didn't set goals because some guru on YouTube told you the new thing is an AI agency now. No, you set the goal because you thought back, like those are my values, those are the emotions I want to feel on a daily basis. And if I go for this and I achieve this and even the entire way and the process, I'm going to feel these emotions and I will fulfill and bring these values to life. Okay?